Tonight, new and exclusive details from the Greece Police Department's internal investigation into the DWI crash of former Chief Drew Forsythe. Good evening, I'm Jenny Ryan. Doug has the night off. 13 Wham has obtained an unredacted copy of that report. For the first time, we see the violations cited and the officers accused of making them. It follows just filed legal claims by two officers who say that report marred their reputations. The DWI crash of former Greece Police Chief Drew Forsythe was a black eye for the department. An earlier released internal investigation revealed multiple violations of departmental policy in how the case was handled. 13 Wham has obtained the unredacted report. It goes into much greater detail on the violations, among them those by Deputy Chief Casey Vogel and Officer Brian Root. The report says Vogel violated 30 policies or procedures. Among the findings, Vogel failed to understand the chief is not in charge of the investigation involving himself. And, quote, Vogel should have possessed a reasonable suspicion alcohol may have been a factor. Vogel, who was demoted following the report, has filed a notice of claim against the town and the department, claiming he was penalized for being a whistleblower in the case. The report also cites Sergeant Brian Root for 25 violations. Among them, it says Root conducted a rogue investigation into the crash without permission. Root, who was suspended for 30 days, is also taking legal action against the town. He, too, claims he was retaliated against after raising concerns about how the town and department handled the crash. It's been 5 months since the former chief crashed his town-issued vehicle, and it still continues to impact the town police department and the town of Greece. That unredacted report also says Officer Vogel wrote his statement about photos at the accident site in a way that was misleading and not fully transparent. The report also claims Vogel told officers not to take photos of the scene. Vogel has said he was the one who called the DA to investigate the crash. You can find that unredacted report on our website, 13wham.com. The rate of homicides in Rochester is on the rise again this year. Today, two local dads who share the recent loss of their sons have a message for the community.
Please, no more retaliation. No more retaliation. The city is going down. If we love Rochester like we say we do, we must come together.
That call today. Good afternoon. I'm Jenny Ryan. Doug is off. Two fathers, once strangers, are now mourning the loss of both of their sons to violence. They were shot and killed at the same place the same night earlier this month. 13 Wham's Natalie Kutchko here now to explain they're turning tragedy into part of a greater call for change. Natalie?
Two Rochester men, ages 28 and 31, were pronounced dead after a shooting at the corner of State and J Streets earlier this month. Now, today, their fathers were invited by Mayor Malik Evans, calling for peace in the wake of their son's death.
Please put the guns down. It's senseless. You don't only hurt the victim, you hurt the family.
In the midst of their grief, Charles Robinson Jr. and Lonnie Keys Sr. of Rochester stand together, joined by community members in the ongoing call to put an end to gun violence. Their sons and namesakes, 31-year-old Charles Robinson III and 28-year-old Lonnie Keys Jr., were shot and killed less than 2 weeks ago on State Street.
This has to stop. I don't know. I love my son dearly, and I know Lonnie loved his son too, and this hurts so bad, my only son. I was trying to get him to come to Florida just for change, but now I see he was the gateway, the pathway for me to come to Rochester to help my people, and that's what I'm here for.
So far this year, the city of Rochester has recorded 16 homicides, on track to surpass 2021's record of 81 homicides.
Here in Rochester, unfortunately, we are normalizing it. We are not doing it with words, We are normalizing it by ignoring the true cause of violence, by ignoring the names.
Robinson Jr. and Keyes Sr., like many others, are still seeking the answers into what happened to their children.
It breaks my heart to see that my city is going down like this. Why? Why all the anger? For what? It's senseless. Put these guns down.
And at this time, we're told Rochester police still have not made any arrests in this case. Their investigation is ongoing.
A new rise in COVID cases. Cases doubled in Monroe County this past week with confirmation that the new Omicron subvariant is here. Dalton Williams is here now to share the impact on area schools.
Dawn, as we know, masks in school were able to come off almost 2 months ago. Colds started surfacing after that, and as we found out today, COVID cases are starting to show an increase in at least one area county. The new BA.2 variant appears to be the latest strain in COVID, and like its predecessors, Delta and Omicron, it may not be as severe, but is proving to be just as contagious.
So it spreads faster. It's a more successful variant, in terms of evolution and fitness. But the disease, the pictures that it causes, like the, respiratory failure and stuff, is no different than prior variants, at least at this point.
Local Rochester health officials say the increase in these new cases aren't being caused by just the BA.2 variant.
The one thing is our immunity, our past immunity is starting to wane. The second thing is we're relaxing our protective measures. So, masking is less common and distancing is less common. And then finally, the third thing is the inherent contagiousness of this variant.
Ontario County Public Health Director noting that since the mask mandate was lifted, they've seen a small increase in schools and could see more.
We're just seeing a very slight uptick, but we're anticipating probably a little more because usually we're behind Monroe by a couple of weeks in terms of how quickly it goes up.
Adding at this time, there are no plans to go back to stricter rules and mandates. Both Lesho and Beer remind everyone to remain vigilant and follow COVID safety protocols when needed.